Hello everyone, myself Heli Mehta, working as an assistant professor in computer engineering department at Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Technical Education and Research Center, Navsari. Our subject is computer network. Our unit is for network layer. So today our topic is DHCP, that is Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol is a protocol for assigning dynamic IP address to device on a network. So on a network for we have a devices and we have to provide them IP address. So DHCP is a protocol for assigning dynamic IP address to device on the network. So on network we have a multiple device and we are providing them a IP address. So for that DHCP is used. With dynamic addressing, a device can have a different IP address every time it connect to the network. Okay, so as we are providing dynamically, okay, so with dynamic addressing, each and every device have a different IP address when every time they connect with the network. Okay, in some system, the device IP address can even change while it is still connected. Okay, so as it is dynamically, it may be changed in between. It allows reuse of addresses. Okay, it also supports mobile users who want to join networks. Okay, so simply dynamic host configuration protocol is a protocol for assigning dynamic IP address to each and every device in the network. So this is the DHCP server. Okay, here we have a multiple devices. Okay, these all computers are connected. Okay, so we are providing dynamically IP address 223.1.1.1 host. Okay, so 223.1.1.2 to this 223.1.1.3 to this device. Okay, so this is the DHCP server and here we are providing dynamic IP address to all that device. Okay, so arriving DHCP clients need addresses in this network. Okay, so these all are the devices already assigned the IP addresses. Okay, now this is a new device that is arriving and these need a IP address. Okay, so what happened, DHCP server is here and arriving client over here. So broadcast, is there a DHCP server out there? Okay, so they are asking for the IP address. So DHCP, what DHCP reply? DHCP broadcast, I am a DHCP server, here an IP address you can use. Okay, so this is the client arriving. Okay, and they are asking for the IP address to DHCP server. Then DHCP server broadcast, I am a DHCP server, here is an IP address you can use. So they provide the IP address to this device. Okay, after that they send okay, I will take this IP address. Okay, so this client send message to this DHCP server that okay, I am using this IP address. Then DHCP provide the acknowledgement, okay, you have got this IP address. Okay, so here in this diagram we have already this much devices and they are they have a IP address. Okay, this is provided by the DHCP server only. Okay, now these all devices have their IP address. Now this device is arriving new. Okay, so this procedure is performed. They are asking for the IP address to DHCP server. DHCP server provide the IP address, then they accept this IP address and DHCP give okay, you have got this IP address. Like this, DHCP server provides the IP address to all the devices in the network. Okay, DHCP server discovery. The first task of a newly arrived host is to find a DHCP server with which to interact. Okay, the explanation of this diagram. Okay, this is done using DHCP discovery message, which is client set within the UDP packet to port number 67. The UDP packet is encapsulated in a IP datagram, but to whom should this datagram be sent? The host doesn't even know the IP address of the network to which it is attaching. Okay, so the host doesn't know about this. Okay, given this, the DHCP client creates an IP datagram containing its DHCP discovery message along with the broadcast destination IP address of 225.225.225.225 and this host source IP address is 0.0.0.0. Okay, the DHCP client passes the IP datagram to the link layer. Okay, which then broadcasts this frame to all nodes attached to the subnets. Okay, A DHCP server receiving a DHCP discover message responds to the client with the DHCP offer message that is broadcast to all other nodes that are available in the subnets. Okay, again using the IP broadcast address this 225.225.225.225. Since several DHCP servers can be present on the subnet, the client may find itself in the enviable position of being able to choose from among several offers. Okay, each server offer message contains the transaction ID of the received discover message, the proposed IP address for the client, the network mask, and the IP address lease time, the amount of the time for which the IP address will valid. Okay, so we have a DHCP request and acknowledgement that I have explained here. Client is requesting and DHCP will respond. Okay, so DHCP request, the newly arriving client will choose from among one or more server offers and responds to its selected offer with DHCP request message echoing back the configuring parameters. Okay, and DHCP acknowledgement is the server responds to the DHCP request message with DHCP acknowledgement message confirming the requested parameters. So that I have explained here. Okay, DHCP request, this client is requesting that okay, I will take this address, and then DHCP gives the acknowledgement, okay, you have got the IP address. So remember this diagram and this diagram. Okay, so this is the DHCP request and DHCP acknowledgement. Okay, so remember this DHCP is dynamic host configuration protocol, and it is used for assigning dynamic IP address to device on the network. So this like this, they are providing the IP address to all devices. When new devices arrive, this operation is performed. So remember this. Now next is NAT, that is network address translation, that is NAT. The internet has grown larger than anyone even imagine it could be. So internet is growing very large, although the exact size is unknown. Okay, the current estimate is that there are about 100 million hosts and more than 350 million users actively on the internet. So internet is growing very fast, that everyone know. In fact, the rate of growth has been such that the internet is effectively doubling in size each year. Okay, so what does the size of the internet have to do with NAT? Okay, for a computer to communicate with other computers and web servers on the internet, it must have a IP address. So without IP address, they cannot communicate. Okay, an IP address is a unique 32-bit number that identifies the location of your computer on a network. So after getting the IP address, we can communicate. Okay, so when IP addressing first came out, everyone though there were sufficiently of address to cover any need. Okay, theoretically you could have 4, 294, 967, 296 this much unique addresses. Okay, the actual number of available addresses is smaller because of the way that the addresses are separated into classes. Okay, they are divided into 5 classes, and because some addresses are set aside for multicasting, testing or other special uses. Okay, so with the explosion of the internet, the increase in the home networks and business networks, the number of available IP addresses is simply not enough. Okay, because of the very fast growing of internet. Okay, the observed solution is to redesign the address format to allow for more possible addresses. So we have to redesign the address format. This is being developed called IPv6. Okay, that I have explained later, but will take several years to implement because it is required modification of the entire infrastructure of the network. As internet is growing fast, this IP address is not available. The number of available IP addresses is simply not enough. So we have to redesign it. Okay, and this is the IPv6. Okay, but it will take more time as the entire infrastructure is changed. Okay, this is where NAT RFC 1631 comes to the rescue. Okay, so this is the come in the picture. Now, network address translation allows a single device such as a router to act as an agent between the internet, okay, or public network and a local or a private network. This means that only a single unique IP address is required to represent an entire group of computers. Okay, so we can reduce the total number of IP addresses. Okay, so what happened? Simply remember this: network address translation is a only a single unique IP address is required to represent an entire group of computers. Okay, so here we have a multiple group of computers. Okay, so unique IP address is required. Okay, that is the NAT. Remember this: only single unique unique IP address is required to represent an entire group of computer. Okay, so number of IP address can be reduced. So this is the NAT. Now next is CIDR, classless interdomain routing. Originally IP addresses were assigned in a 4 major address class, that A to D, that I have explained in the earlier lectures. The IP address are divided into 4 classes: class A, class B, class C and class D. Each of these classes allocates one portion of the 32-bit IP address format to identify a network gateway. The first 8-bit for class A, the first 16 for class B and the first 24 for class C. The remainder identified host on the network ID. Okay, so they are divided into net ID and host ID, that I have already explained. More than 16 million in the class A. Okay, in a class 65,535 in class B and 254 in class C. Okay, class D address identify multi-class domain. Okay, and class E is reserved. Okay, to illustrate the problem with the class system, consider that one of the most commonly used class was class B. Okay, so commonly we are using class B address. Okay, an organization that need more than 254 host machine, 500 host, would often get a class B license, even though it would have a far fewer than 65,534 hosts. Okay, so remember only this: we are commonly using class B. Okay, so organization will always get the license of class B. This resulted in a most of the block of the addresses allocated doing the unused. So CIDR reduce the problem of wasted address. Okay, so many addresses are wasted, unused. Okay, so CIDR reduce the problem of wasted address space by providing a new and more flexible way to specify network address in a router. Okay, so to avoid this problem, CIDR is used. A single IP address can be used to design many unique IP address with CIDR. Okay, CIDR IP addresses looks like a normal IP address, except that it ends with a slash followed by a number called the IP network prefix. CIDR addresses reduce the size of routing tables and make more IP addresses available within the organization. So we have these IP address 200.23.16.0. After that we are writing slash and 23. So this is known as a CIDR representation. So here we have a subnet part and here we have a host part. Okay, so this is a binary representation. Okay, 200.23.16.0. Okay, so CIDR reduce the problem of wasted address space. Okay, so this is the CIDR. Thank you.